Good morning, family and friends. Dealing with an imperfect family. Genesis 37, verses 1 through 11, dealing with Joseph, an imperfect family. This morning, we're going to be talking about Joseph had imperfect parents. Sometimes the cause of dysfunction in our families, whether we want to admit it or not, as parents, is our own fault. All too often, we lay the groundwork for dysfunction within our families. Joseph's family was so unbelievable until it could have been made into a modern day television soap opera. He had 3 stepmothers, 10 stepbrothers, and a stepsister, all living at home at the same time. Can somebody tell me what was Jacob thinking, putting all of them in the same household? Just try to imagine, if you will, the mayhem, madness, and turmoil that existed in that house. Joseph's father, a polygamist, if you will, a passive parent who openly showed favoritism among his children. Jacob's wives were jealous and insecure of each other. Joseph's home had 4 unhappy women. Jacob, bless his soul. Joseph had a weak and ineffective father. Jacob was the classic passive parent. Earlier, great tragedy had befallen the family as they traveled across the country. Jacob's daughter was raped by the mayor of Shechem in chapter 34, verses 1 through 2. When Jacob learned of this, Jacob did nothing. His son, however, devised a plan when they saw that their father was not going to do anything, that he was passive and not going to take a move. Sometimes fathers have to take control of their households to break the curse of dysfunction, break the curse of inactivity, and bring about a change. But he did nothing, and his sons plotted and planned to kill all the men in the city. Chapter 34, verse 29. When Jacob learned of this, learned of what they had done, his chief concern was not about his boys, but about his public relations with the people in the land. But still, he did nothing. He did nothing when Reuben had an affair with Bilhah, his concubine, in 35 and 21. He still did nothing. Passiveness leads to dysfunction. When he learned of Dinah's rape, he did nothing. When he learned his son's guilty of murder, he did nothing. When he learned his son has slept with his concubine, he did nothing. It's hard to calculate Jacob's passiveness as a parent, having not contributed to the turmoil in his family, for it is coming. Jacob is the classic illustration of a man who was too busy for his own family, too preoccupied and unconcerned, which meant he was too passive to deal with what was occurring in the lives of his family. Sometimes the cure for dysfunction is to just pay attention. Pay attention to what's going around you and take some steps, and stop just saying it'll never change. It's just the way they are. Parents, brothers and sisters, take charge. We as parents can set our children up for great failure because we've been too passive and unresponsive. Not only was he a passive parent, but for 17 years in our text today, his children watched as he played favorite with Joseph. In verse 3 we learn, now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age. Joseph, now 17, was the firstborn of his father's favorite wife, Rachel. Joseph, according to scripture, was born to his father late in life, the favorite son from the favorite wife. There can be some valid reasons why, as the baby of the family, especially one born late in life, or the parent seems to be favored. By then, most parents are more relaxed. They have more money. Their status has changed, or they're just too old to chase around a child. Another reason for this approach is the parents just feel like they're going to have the aid of the older children. But this can create jealousy and turmoil within a family. Not only did he love Jacob more than his other brothers, but he demonstrated his favoritism openly and in a dramatic way. In no way did Jacob hide his partiality for Joseph. The latter part of verse 3 says, he made him a tunic of many colors. This term, tunic of many colors, is variously translated as many-colored or richly ornamented. But Hebrew word describes it as a robe extending to the ankles and the wrist. It was a garment worn by nobility and the wealthy. Joseph's brothers wore garments that were short and sleeveless. With such garments, they were able to work, clamber up hills, wade through swampy areas, carry sheep on their shoulders. In essence, Joseph's robe indicated he was exempt from manual labor and hardship. There's something to be said when we don't have to work for what we get. A dysfunctional family. Today's message dealt with us as parents. We have to be careful of the precedent we set among our children. Whether you have one child or 20 children, we cannot be passive in nature. God did not intend for that to be the way. Take these lessons that God is providing for us and utilize them wisely. But we all have dealt with dysfunctional families. And sometimes as parents, we have to acknowledge our own dysfunction. I know this didn't sound like a sermon today, but we're going to get there. Just follow us along in this series. May God bless and keep you as I pray. As always, you got any questions, please inbox me.